Welcome to We Don't Have Cookies with your host, Jason Marshall.
Welcome to the show the girl just said the name of. I'm the guy the girl just said the name of. If you're a new listener, thanks for checking out the show. If you're a regular listener, you're going to enjoy today's show. It's somebody who has been on the radio quite a few times, but this is their first time on the podcast. My guest today is comedian, actor, author, host of the Not for Children story segment, and a man I'm proud to call a casual acquaintance, Mike Canetaro. Mikey Cans, how you doing?
I'm doing just great. Thank you for that glorious introduction.
For newer listeners who aren't familiar with you, I want to give them a little bit of a backstory of who you are. How long have you been doing comedy?
Well, I've been doing comedy. You know, I don't know the exact date that I started because I deleted my first set ever.
Really?
Yeah, I did. So I knew it was in December. So I think I'm coming up on 7 years.
I thought about doing that myself. It's on YouTube and I want to take it down, but I just haven't.
I just deleted it so I could never listen to it again. It was that bad. I mean, but I was getting laughs. It was just that, you know, a lot of it was derivative, you know, and so I just kind of did safe. You know, I switched punchlines with what were established jokes, and I kind of just switched them with other stuff that was sort of mine, but it wasn't really perfectly my material.
What got you on stage?
You know, good question. I think what happened is I've always been to comedy clubs. When my younger days in college, I used to go to the Funny Bone in Buffalo, and we had a comedy club in my hometown of Binghamton, New York. And there was the big boom of the 80s and 90s, and I would always stay up late and to watch the comedian on Letterman and Carson, then Letterman. And I think got old enough to the point where I'm like, I'm going to check out an open mic because now I finally have some stuff I can say, you know. And I'd been teaching for so many years and been talking in front of people. So I went to the open mic at Wiley's, and then I just kind of watched the show. And then I was just kind of like, I can do that. I can do that open mic stuff, you know, because I was like, yeah, I don't know why I've been waiting this long. But, and I'm not using any names of people who I saw, but, and then I just kind of started out and, you know, and I, like I said, you know, I started doing safer material. I didn't really get a voice until like a year or two in. So I've just been getting up there ever since. Not as frequently anymore, but.
And you do a lot of characters.
I like doing characters.
What inspires that?
Well, my main goal is to annoy other comics. So they're like, oh, he's hiding behind a costume, and what's this character stuff? And, you know, and then now there's a certain faction of comics, you know, it's really edgy or weird. Oh, my God, he moved his elbow. You know, like I saw him move his elbow. So, you know, I like to do something outrageous just to get up there, and it's not me, you know, so it's kind of safe. They're kind of right. I am kind of hiding behind a costume or a character, but it's just something to do.
I would say that has to help a lot. I mean, for one, you already had your confidence behind you with all the years that you were teaching and being comfortable in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
And then you add that with a character that, not to like talk down about it, but it kind of masks everything, and you feel it has to make you feel a lot safer because on stage it's hard because it's just you.
Yeah.
And if those people don't like you, they don't like you.
Yeah.
But if they don't like, I don't want to take down the fourth wall, but if they don't like Pandy, well, they just didn't like that character.
Yeah.
It's not really disapproval of you.
And frankly, to side with the comics a little bit, it is kind of getting cheap laughs when you go up there in a panda suit or a chicken suit. I went up there in a chicken suit as Tanya Tyson. And just what I like to try to do, though, I think, is to try to flip it a little bit. So if you're a panda and you're just really disgruntled at the state of being a panda, because people think you're cute but don't think you're a bear, and the zoo treats you like shit. You know, I mean, that's just a thing I like to kind of flip.
It would have to be unbearable for that character.
That's right, exactly. No puns intended. This Tanya Tyson character that I busted out because I bought a chicken suit, and I'm actually working on a documentary of people in costume. You know, like just every aspect of people working in costume or recreating in costume. So I have these suits. We're gonna dive into furry culture. You know?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I have these things, and I thought it would be neat to get up there at Cat's Lounge and do a chicken who's just really like life is hard as a chicken, you know.
Cat's Lounge is a show that you put on.
Yeah, every other month I put on a show on a Tuesday.
How long have you been doing that? It's been quite a while.
3 years, yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, it's tough to get people out on a Tuesday, but,
Yeah.
you know, even when the comics show up, you know, they sell some drinks that they wouldn't normally sell because Monday's dart night. Wednesday night, some other comedy clubs sometimes doing open mics. Thursday through Saturday and Sunday is, you know, the clubs are running shows. So Tuesday's a pretty dark night to do stuff on.
Did you have any good bombing stories?
Oh, yeah. Oh, tons. I mean, how long do you want to go? I mean,
We got
less
all
than
day.
an hour? You know, there was a period where I was sort of, you're in the honeymoon phase of comedy. I don't know if you've ever felt that way, but, you know, like, you'll just say yes to anything, you know, so I got to get up there on stage. And so probably the worst thing was I was doing comedy at my place of employment, which was Sinclair downtown. And I was mixing the two, which is not a good idea. So they were like, well, we're going to have an open mic over lunch and we're going to go to the arcade area outside there, you know, that outside area in Dayton where they have like a big old, kind of courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have like music, you know, guy playing a guitar. We're going to have like, the dancing with wooden shoes or whatever the heck. And then Mike for 5 minutes doing comedy. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it, you know, and I'm thinking, I'm looking around and like people are sitting like a half a football field away.
Oh,
and
God.
It's just hard to connect with the audience when they're that far away. And it's like blaring sunlight. It was in the middle of maybe September. And during my set, it's just hard to get laughs because they're that far away. This lady with a walker just walked right in front of the stage, in front of the audience with a walker. And it took like 2 minutes for her to go by.
Oh my God.
And I just wanted to address something, you know, but, that was just outside never works. I bombed outside in Cincinnati. One of my friends thought it was a great idea to put, a comedy festival inside another festival. And we were all in a truck. And during the day, daylight and outside just doesn't work. Well, I could kick myself because I was struggling out there. And we were right next to a kid's face painting booth. And, you know,
good place for it, right?
I know, it was right next to the kids' face painting. They pulled the truck up. And so people are going by and walking around. And I just was thinking, looking around like this, I should have seen this coming. Like, you know, so like, and then now I'm like 3 or 4 years in and I'm struggling and people are walking by and I could kick myself because, well, one thing, the lady comes out from the face painting booth and she's like, I thought this was supposed to be clean because I didn't drop any F-bombs or anything, but I was cussing a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she comes out and she's got her like face painting stuff. I thought that's supposed to be clean, you know, and I'm like, well, I don't have many jokes about how I got holes in my socks. You know, I forget what I was even doing at the time. And then I was just really struggling. I should have just walked off, and a cop went by on a Segway and I should have said like, oh, I wish I had a segue for this joke. And then like, oh, there it is. But it was so rattled.
Yeah.
So I will never do anything outside again unless you really, really make it something special or I really owe you a favor. If it's outside, I'll say no. And I've been starting to say no a little more because my kids are getting older is one of the problems. But
that's hard to do when you got kids.
Yeah.
If you're a good parent, they have to take priority. So
Yeah.
I think people without kids don't really recognize that as much. And comedy is a lot of a younger single person without kids kind of game.
Yeah, it is. And I felt bad because I was trying to figure out a way to pick up my kid from the mall and do a Colin Brunn's show up in Sydney. And I'm just like, I am not going to have an Uber pick up my 16-year-old from her job because she got her just driver permit. So I had to pull out of a show, you know, and I thought I had it lined up and my wife had to do something else. And so, you know, it kind of hurts a little bit. I got to do a show a week from tonight. I got to make sure she got a ride.
Yeah, I was going to plug that. If you live in the Dayton, Ohio area, you can catch Mike on Saturday, September 24th at 8:30 p.m. at Murray's Pub. That's on 3866 South Dixie Drive. Admission's free. There's a 2-item minimum. Mike's going to be co-headlining along with friend of the show, Can Do You Walk Carpenter, and hosted by another friend of the show, Mike Morris. So that looks like it's going to be a good time.
It should be a good time. His flyer has me and Kenny both headlining, and did we go up there at the same time? Is that what we do?
I think you should.
Yeah, I just bought 2 mics and
it's
just
like a duet.
Just like totally just go right through our set at the same time. Just step on each other. That'd be kind of interesting. No, I'm just kidding.
See if you guys have any jokes that flow together, and that's what you do. It's just like a duet. You go up there, you do your part, he does a joke, and then it goes right back to you. And
Kenny and I are kind of in the same boat. We have families and we're older. So he's been doing it way longer than I have.
Really funny guy. One of the favorites of the listeners.
Real funny guy. Great delivery.
Well, you were also in charge of booking the open mic at Wiley's in Dayton, Ohio. Mm-hmm. Wiley's is the oldest comedy club in Ohio. What was that like?
Boy, I tell you, that is a taxing job for the little bit of money you get and the guaranteed stage time you get. But it's not always good stage time because you're going to put yourself up there 6 minutes. Usually you'll put yourself after somebody who's untested, so in case you have to sweep up. But it's just tough. First of all, you're answering emails, and the tone of the emails sometimes become very demanding. You have to deal with these folks, but then sometimes they have legitimate questions. And so you're dealing with the fact that you're communicating with people by email, and then getting them to show up, getting them to bring people, not doing anything crazy, which has happened. Boy, where do I even start? Just the emails. If you can identify yourself as a jerk on email, you're not going to get any stage time, So, I mean, when I was running that, I had to, on the club's email, there was the Sunday night email. We had a separate email, my partner Joanne and we had a little folder called the Naughty Corner. And that was basically where you would either misbehaved in your first time or second time, or you somehow had misbehaved, or you just sent an email with a real demanding tone or something weird. Mm-hmm. So that means you're probably not good. I mean,
what was your most demanding email?
Probably, I want to do my first time comedy, and I don't want to tell my friends about it, and I'm not gonna tell my friends about it. And what's the rules? Then what they'd get mad about is that we had an auto reply. We would get people who email didn't come through because they went in the spam folder. And it was usually a who's who of who was probably looking at porn, So it was like those kind of people. And I'm like, oh, you were in the spam folder. I'm sorry. So then you get these emails like, hey, you didn't answer my email. It's been 3 weeks. So why don't you go something bad, And I'm like, sorry. And then we're like, what's with this auto reply thing? Because we'd bounce an email right back to him. And I'm like, we're trying to inform people. But, I don't need to bring people because what you're going to get is my act,
oh,
and
shit.
then I'm like, well, okay, I've never heard of you, so there's like, I want to headline the show and we've never heard of you, and then like, just weird stuff like that. Then in person, it's great if you don't go up there in your underwear. That's always cool. Show parts of your body. Through your clothes or outside your clothes is always nice.
Now, with the underwear thing, how did that come about? Did they just show up to the club in the underwear, or did they just strip down before they were supposed to get up?
No, there was a guy named Action Jackson. That was a stage name, I assume. Mm-hmm. And so what happened is he wasn't even on the list. So it wasn't, we try to put a dozen to 14 people on a show, have somebody do 15 minutes who had earned the right to close the show, so we end on a good note and could stretch if we need 20 minutes while they're collecting checks and get, caught up or, something got behind. So you'd have an experienced person close the show. But, this guy shows up and he's got like 20 reservations and he's not on the list. So we put him up there because he's got like 20 reservations and he probably had a couple tables full of people.
Wow.
And then what happened is somehow I think we posited that he hid under a table. He somehow went to the meeting and, learned all the rules of everything. But, there's no rule, don't go up there in your underwear and with knee pads on. We don't have that rule. You didn't need to have a rule for that. We didn't think. So he goes up there with a kind of weird jungle-like hat, shirtless, with his drawers on and knee pads, and he was.
And they were tidy whities too. We're not talking boxers
grays.
or anything.
Yeah, they were there. Yeah, and then so Action Jackson, the first thing he says, he gets up there, he's like, "I'm not here to do jokes," or something. And it was like he was doing jokes, but it was just like, and he was getting a good response from his contingent. And then right after the show, I shook his hand. I said, "Okay, well, that was your first time. Try to be positive. Because it was his first. I said something pretty generic, nothing too complimentary, because I didn't want to compliment him
you don't
too
want
much.
to encourage that. Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm going to come every Sunday." And I'm like, "Oh, no, you can't come every Sunday. Like, you just can't. There's too many people. You can't have the same dozen people every Sunday." So we had a guy named Puke who fell off the stage, but that was after past my time. But then, let's see, that was his stage name, Puke.
Yeah, we covered that one where he was trying to exit the stage because
he was real drunk.
They lit him to let him. I don't even think he went to his time. They just knew it wasn't going well, and to be honest, they were trying to actually save him more than be disrespectful.
Yeah,
and I don't know if he just didn't, because it's bright up there.
Yeah, it is very bright. Yeah,
I don't know if he just didn't know where he was going or if he was trying to be funny, because before that. And I'm not sure if he was like a patron before he decided to get up there, and it was before they remodeled, but the steps to get on the stage were directly in front of the stage. Now they're off to the side.
Now they're to the side,
I don't know if nerves took over and it was bright and he just went to the front of the stage because that's where they traditionally were before.
Yeah, he might have remembered. He was there in the old days when they were, so he might have been going for the old stairs. And that was the part of his memory that was working.
That was my impression.
That's probably, I never really thought of that.
Yeah, I think it was a fight or flight kind of thing.
That's
and he just wanted to get the hell out of there.
That's a high stage. And actually, I was one of my friends from Columbus, Bobby Dodds is the guy's name. He's like, "So he died, right?" Because that's a high stage. So he's dead.
Bobby Dodds is hilarious.
Yeah, he's a funny dude.
I really want to get him on the show sometime. Very funny guy.
Absolutely should. But anyhow, we're going to, I think, talk about my novel later. But both Puke and Action Jackson have definite references in the book I'm writing. I just threw the names in there. They're not the same people. But, I just thought those two names need to carry on.
Yeah.
But that was a taxing thing. And then eventually I started to, the new owners wanted to run shows more often. And I just couldn't hang anymore. If they wanted to run 3 out of 4 Sundays, it was starting to become where we were sort of drying up our new people. And it was getting too taxing for me because I was starting to get into other things. So I just bowed out. And, it was kind of stressful at times for a job that doesn't pay much money.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But, those kinds of things. I won't even tell you what the one lady did, but she kind of showed part of her anatomy through her clothes, and she wanted to show everybody her camel
I remember
toe.
that.
Yeah, I guess I said it.
She was kind of, you can say anything you want on
I know
here,
I could say it. I was just trying to keep it nice. But she kind of...
She was a regular, wasn't she? She kind of went up quite a bit. And
a couple,
never
3 times.
Really got much of a response. Because I remember seeing her there one night. And people were telling me like, "Oh yeah, she," and they told me about the camel toe thing.
Yeah, the guy who runs Morty's in Indianapolis, Bowers, he has a good term as well. There's some people who are just laugh deaf, which means they will go up there and do their 6 minutes into silence, and they don't seem to want to reevaluate anything because then they'll go up again and they'll do it 6 minutes and they'll just have silence. And I don't know what part of them hears the silence or not. It's just, there's a point where you need to reevaluate. If you go on those crowds are pretty hot on Sunday nights. And if you're not getting laughs at some point, then there's something that makes me wonder, and you want to be nice to everybody. You do, but you can't tell them like, "Hey, did you hear that there was nobody laughing?" But that just, there's something there that is just strange. It might be like 10% of the people, but maybe they just want to survive it, but it's just strange.
Well, you referenced your novel a little bit ago. Do you have a rough estimate about when that'll be out and what's it called and what's it about?
Well, it's my first novel. It's based on It's based on a character who would sound like me. He's a guy who got into comedy as an older guy with lots of responsibility, probably maybe midlife crisis-y kind of stuff. And the title is Not Making It, and it'll probably be ready in the middle of October. Okay. I set October 22nd as a date so that it would be done by then, and that's my birthday, so that I wouldn't disappoint myself on my birthday. So that way I got to get it done before then. And I have a proof right here, and I'm just scribbling through it with a pen. And we're at the point where I'm out going through it for my third time, and I have a couple friends who are looking at it for me. But it's self-published. I didn't approach any publishers with it. The book I gave you here today, I approached publishers with, and it was business humor, nonfiction kind of business humor. And just that process was grueling, and I didn't want to go through it again for now. I'm going to try to just promote it on Facebook. There's a page for it, and hopefully word of mouth. Comics should appreciate it, because there's a lot of the ownership side that kind of sucks, that you have to deal with as a comic. There's the hyper-competitive nature of being a comic where you're kind of set at odds with each other, and there's the beta and alpha males, and I was more of a beta. And so there's always that alpha male. And so there's a couple characters to do that. There's the ass-kissing that gets you pissed off, where people get to certain places because they basically are always 2 steps behind somebody, or blathering out compliments on social media. And so there's that. And then there's the desperation of the character who feels the call of his family, but then the desperate stuff that happens on a Sunday night at a comedy club that he runs. So it's set in a vague place where you don't really know where they are, but there's the 2 clubs that you find when you go into any city. Sometimes there's the B club and then the A club. Mm-hmm. So he works for the B club, but he's not getting booked, and he's getting pissed about it, So it's kind of got elements of what I went through, but just kind of some exaggeration in there for entertainment value.
It sounds like a really good book.
It's got some stuff in there that's it's the first person, it's his thoughts. So some of it is very, very, how we always have that part of your mind, the id, mm-hmm. And then you got these terrible thoughts, you'd never speak them. But you're hearing the patter of his thoughts. So it's kind of awful, some of the things he thinks. And one of his goals, and don't think I'm really spoiling anything, is that he wants to die funny. So he's thinking that, boy, if I ever died, it would be great to die funny somehow, like something to leave a funny mark in my dying moments or the way I died. And he notices when other people die funny. So if he hears stories of it, there's a real story about a guy who fell into a vat of boiling tuna, and he thinks that was a funny way to die, and it's awful. But, so there's that awful nature of listening to the guy's thoughts.
Now, that's not the first book that you've written. You referenced the one that you gave me just before the show started, and you've done the Not for Children stories. Yeah. Was there any others that I'm missing?
No, I've done collections of short stories. I did the book Escapism for Professionals, which was a meeting book, how to escape meetings, and I actually wrote it during all my meetings. On great. A notepad. Not that I tried bringing the laptop in, but people were starting to get a little. Yeah. So I ended up just scribbling. If I had to write a page in one day, that thing took a year and a half to write. And it's a short book, but it's basically ways you could sneak out of a meeting or just get out of any sort of responsibility. But this is the first time I've ever had a lengthy novel, and some of my own experiences helped me form the story. So it wasn't too hard, but I think people would read it and think like, is that me Mike's talking about? And then they're like, the answer is no. It's you exaggerated. It's one thing you did into a character that's not you. So there's a lot of exaggeration of the kind of culture of comedy. One of the taglines that's smacks you right in the face right before you even read it is, there's no rules in comedy, and you had damn sure better abide by them.
I like that. Yeah. That's a good tagline.
Yeah, it's the tagline of it. So it'll be ready in October, and I will keep everybody up to date still on the Facebook page.
And we'll be giving away a copy of one of Mike's books to one lucky listener. Just send an email to jason@wedon'thavecookies.com. Let me know that you want to be in the drawing. I'll put all the entries in a hat, pick a winner, and I'll email the winner to get their shipping info.
Maybe thimble. Would it be a thimble?
It might be. Well, we're going to go to break real quick and play a new segment called BS Facts by our Australian contributor Beej and Totally from the UK today, a.k.a. Totally Fucked with Choo Choo Stu. And before we go to break, this episode's sponsored by Black Rifle Coffee. It's owned and operated by Special Forces vets. They make strong coffee for strong people. For more information, go to blackriflecoffee.com.
G'day, Beej here from the BS Pod and also newpodworldorder.com. Did you know wearing sunglasses at night won't help you eat peaches faster? I don't buy it myself, but you know, I'm a pretty fucking quick peach eater and I wear sunnies at night because I am cool in my own mind.
Hey guys, it's Christina Hughes, the Queen of Fancy, with the flair for the swear. Be sure to check out my website, fancycomedy.com, and follow me on Twitter, @fancycomedy.
Totally from UK today.
BBC scares viewers after predicting Nazi ghosts during weather forecast. BBC Wales viewers were left fearing that the apocalypse was nigh after the subtitles for a weather forecast predicted that Nazi ghosts were on their way. The subtitling gaffe came as forecaster Sue Charles reported on the weather over the North Sea coast and left viewers wondering whether to prepare for an invasion of supernatural fascists. The intended subtitle, which followed Sue's forecast, was intended to read, "Bringing some rain along the North Sea coasts," which sounds like a fairly standard instruction. That's in total contrast to "Bringing some rain along the Nazi ghosts," which was caused by a subtitling system that operates on automatic transcription. Unsurprisingly, there's no Nazi ghosts on the horizon, or at least that's what we're aware of, although the weather is looking, well, pretty grim.
Do you have an impression request for Marco Fuji or just want to contact the show? Send an email to jason@wedon'thavecookies.com.
You can also call 929-266-9342 and leave a voicemail for the show. And I actually got a voicemail this week that I thought was you, Mike.
Oh, okay. Must have been brilliant.
Well, it starts off, maybe I'll just play the voicemail. People can understand why. And you do so many characters.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is clearly one of Mike's characters. And it maybe 5-10 seconds in, I'm like, oh, this isn't Mike. So we'll play that voicemail and we'll be right back.
Yes, this is Mike Ookie with Men's Rogue Deluxe Baked Goods of America. We're a distant cousin of the Girl Scouts Cookies of America, possibly adopted, not important. I hear you need cookies. I happen to have what you need. Chocolate chip, lemon and coconut, macaroon, mint, that's a popular one. Just plain fudge chocolate. If you're feeling frisky, we have a new cookie, the mystery cookie. I can't tell you what flavor it is, but there's a bit of good fortune in every bite. Let me tell you, one customer, he had a cookie, found his car keys. It was the greatest thing. Looking for them for 3 days. They weren't in the cookie, but he just happened to find them. Bit of fortune, let me tell you.
Okay, so you can see why I would think that was you at first, because he starts off, hey, this is Mike.
Yeah, you know, I actually think I saw that guy at Wiley's.
Oh, yeah?
No, I don't know. Sounds like something that we would see.
I like how he names all the cookies.
Yes.
And,
yes, he's very very into the whole process of the cookie. He's got quite an inventory.
There's plain cookies.
Plain cookies, yeah.
Fudge, if you want to get frisky, I like that.
Plain cookies. What are plain cookies?
I don't know. I was thinking that myself.
There's no such thing. It's just plain. They've always got something in them. I mean, is it just flour and sugar and that's it?
Well, that's what I was wondering earlier, because you have sugar cookies.
Yeah.
Which I think would be flour and sugar.
Yeah.
So is a plain cookie just flour, milk, eggs, and a little bit of salt? Or
yeah.
I want this guy to call back and explain what a plain cookie is.
Yeah, this needs to be a regular thing, and we need to know more about his whole process involved and you know, what his mission is.
There's a little bit more to the voicemail, so we'll play the rest of that.
Okay.
Now, even better deal, box of 8 for $4.99 or 4 boxes for $19.99. Can't get better than that. Now, 80% of proceeds will go to my grandmother's testicular cancer treatment. 20% will go to my hamster's alcoholism. Slightly related, not important. Now, if any of these sound like the delicious cookies that you need, feel free to give me a call. I don't have a cell phone. This is a payphone. A bit awkward. I don't have an actual email address or a physical address for that matter. We're still up and running. If you want cookies, just light a lantern and put it outside your establishment. We'll know. Have a wonderful day, sir, and God bless America.
It got kind of weird there at the end there. It got a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, the payphone. Right after payphone.
I'm lighting a lantern.
It was started, there's a downward spiral after that. That's interesting. Your listenership is really interesting people there. That's interesting. That's the byproducts of having such a wide listenership.
I want some cookies, though. I know it
got me a little hungry.
Cookies, but
yeah,
he sold me. I'm interested.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the name of your podcast is kind of a cry for help if you think about it, and he's just trying to help.
Yeah.
So, interesting. All right. Well, thanks to Mike. That was a really glad to be named the same name as that guy. That's but yeah, he does sound quite a bit different. He's not as nasally as I am, so yeah, no. I could tell. Yeah.
But at the very beginning, I thought it was you doing a character.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, about 10, 15 seconds in, I'm like, well, this clearly isn't Mike.
Yeah.
But it did sound like something that you might come up with at some point.
I guess, yeah. I do feel a little bit envious that I didn't think of something like that, you know?
Well, I got a question for you from last week's guest. If anybody out there would like to know who last week's guest was, listen to last week's episode. The question is, what was the name of your first ever dog, and how long did you have him or her?
This is for me. This is a question. I never had a dog.
Oh, okay.
Never had a dog.
Really?
Never did. I'm mildly allergic. And what was the name of it? Fred? No, I'm just kidding. I never had a dog. I'm sorry. That's a real boring answer. But sorry to be such a dud there. Should have made something up. Totally should have made something up.
We're going to go from dogs to cats now. This is going to be it's going to be an animal-heavy news show.
Okay.
Or animal-heavy on the news this week.
All right.
This cat dug itself out of a grave it had been in for, 2 to 4 days.
Wow.
Found itself back to the owner and was on the owner's porch waiting for him to give him food.
Interesting.
Yeah, the cat is named Bart, the zombie cat.
Uh-huh. Wow. Apropos.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. What happened was the cat got hit by a car, and it's my understanding that the owner just didn't have the heart to bury it and asked the neighbor to bury it.
Yeah.
So the neighbor buried the cat. The cat clearly wasn't dead.
Yeah.
Somehow dug itself out, and the guy called, I forget what they're called, like animal control or whatever it's called, and they came to get the cat, and then they had like this, year or two long legal battle because they didn't want to give the cat back to the guy, which I thought was kind of messed up because the guy did the right thing by calling to get help for this cat. It's not like he was just like, I'm sick of this cat, so I'm going to bury it in my yard.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That has screenplay potential.
Yeah.
I could just see that the trailer would have this paw just come out of the ground, It's on life number 2. Bart is back. Yeah.
That would have to be scary for the guy who owns it. Like you think your cat's dead. You've probably been mourning the loss of your pet for the last couple of days. And next thing you know, you get up to go to work and it's just on your front porch with a broken jaw, missing an eye, and wanting food.
Yeah, isn't that where cats get the saying that they have 9 lives? Because they're tough. Right? They're tough to kill sometimes. They always joke about you can't kill a barn cat. You just run over the tractor, just be like, Meow.
That was one of the
Bart,
craziest stories I've heard.
The resurrected cat. Awesome.
We're going to go from cats to fish.
Interesting.
A lady in Australia paid $370 to have a medical operation done to her goldfish.
Interesting.
Yeah, it swallowed a pebble in the goldfish tank.
I saw that. The thing was huge. Yeah, and then they had to put it under anesthesia.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Was it an underwater operation? I mean, it almost had to be.
No, they had it out of, I don't know how the thing didn't die because it was out of the water. I'm sure if you Googled that, there's a clip of it. And it was a sizable pellet, but it must not have killed it. It just probably got in its way to eat.
Yeah, it just got lodged in its mouth where it couldn't eat anything.
Couldn't pass it and couldn't eat. That's interesting. I do have a goldfish story. But I had a goldfish that lived 13 years.
Jesus, really?
Yeah, 13 years. Now, I don't know if there was any shenanigans where it really died and my parents replaced it, but I literally took it to college.
Holy shit.
It to college. There was 3 of them. The one that was and it started out as a gold-colored fish, and then it turned white, and its scales were falling off. When I went to college, people would pour beer in its tank. The thing wouldn't die until one day it was just laying on the bottom of the tank. And I know because I had this thing all through high school. And, you couldn't go to the pet store and replace it with a aging white fish that had scales missing.
Yeah.
So there was at least, 7 years. I know it was alive for 7 years. And maybe they might have got switched to when my parents, when I was younger. But I'm telling you, 13 years is the period where at least 7 that this fish lived.
That's crazy.
And then it withstood so much crazy treatment in college, and I felt a little relieved when it finally died because I thought it might be immortal.
What'd you name it?
There was Larry, Moe, and Curly, and I forget which one it was. I think it was Moe that lived that long, and then Larry and Curly died. Obviously, it was Three Stooges themed fish names.
Well, speaking of something that comes in threes, here is a story that I've never seen anything like this. Everybody talks about how police are out of control. I try not to bring that up on the show because I don't want to get political or do a lot of hot button issue things. But there was a woman who was arrested in McDonald's by a police officer for eating his fries. Apparently she was intoxicated along with one of her other friends. For whatever reason, they decided to walk up to this police officer's table and start talking to him. The lady picks up a fry and eats it.
Yeah.
And he tells her not to do that again.
Yeah.
She picks up another one and eats it. And he tells her that if she does it again, he's going to arrest her for theft.
Yeah.
She ate a third fry, and he arrested her and took her to jail for eating 3 of his fries.
That's amazing.
I'm not sure who the idiot is. Is it the guy who arrested somebody for 3 fries?
Yeah.
Or is it the idiot that ate 3 fries off the cop's plate after he tells her not to? I don't know.
He's probably on a break. And he probably just got done doing something either really super boring or really terrible. Don't mess with someone on their break. You know what I mean? Don't be sticking your paws in someone's fries. I got to side with the cop on that one. I'm sorry. I mean, the thing is, he's got to do it for everybody who's had fries snatched from them. That's what he's got to do it. Someone who's like, yeah, that person who came up to me and took my fries, that person's like, fuck yeah, put her in jail.
He's saying that to his bigger brother at Thanksgiving. If you steal my role,
that's right.
Now things are a little different than they were when I was 11.
So you got to, I guess it's not the amount of the theft sometimes. It's the amount of the sort of violation that you should be able to sit in a restaurant and not have people stick their paws into your food.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I just wonder if they would do that for me. If I'm sitting at McDonald's and somebody comes up and just steals 3 of my fries.
Absolutely not.
If I'm just like, hey, you see that asshole over there?
Yeah, it'd be like, get over it. And you have to witness stuff. But if a cop saw that, they wouldn't probably do it. But if it was, it seems dumb to me to do that. So you almost have to treat the dumbness of it in a certain different way.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I was really caught off guard by that because I thought, reading the headline, I just assumed she took all of his fries and just went for the door and he got her or something like that. Yeah. Even then, it was like, it's a little much, but I can understand it because it almost is the principle of the thing.
Yeah,
this person just thinks they can do whatever they want, and they're intoxicated.
Intoxicated too. That's probably what really put him over the edge. Is like, this lady's intoxicated. What you gonna do next? Might as well put her in the drunk tank.
And there isn't really much context as far as what was said leading up to that, other than being told in the article that he asked her twice not to and threatened to arrest her the second time.
That's crazy.
Which, she probably didn't even believe him when he said that the second time. Like, I'll arrest you. And she's like, what, for a fry? And it turns out, for a fry.
It's that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, I've seen a lot of weird things late at night in fast food joints, but if a cop's sitting there, I'm going to go talk to someone else. You know what I mean? If I'm intoxicated.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a very bizarre thing to want to do.
It was the authority
that
that made her do it. She wanted to stick a fry in the face of authority. That's what she wanted to do. So, oh well. I got problems with authority sometimes, but I ain't going to go do it, to do something like that.
Yeah, that was a very bizarre thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, on both ends. I mean, on one hand, it's like, couldn't you just tell her to get out and, like, escort her to the door? And
that wouldn't have taught her the lesson. Wouldn't have taught her the lesson.
She'd just steal some other cop's fry and think it's okay next time.
She'd probably go right down the road. That's crazy. She got a record now. What are you going to do on the next application you fill out? How are you going to fill out that little spot where you have to say what you did?
And, that would be so hard to explain because it would be very hard to believe. The employer would almost have to look into that. Like, for one, just curiosity, if the story is real or if she's just insane and filled out this application as a joke.
Yeah, what level misdemeanor would that be? I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's probably minor misdemeanor. I don't know. Oh, well.
Now it's time for this week's Dumbass of the Year.
That wasn't it?
No.
Okay, well, we're building.
Tell you what, it was in the running.
Yeah, I think so.
This person had animal control perform a raid on their home in Long Island, where they found 350 uncaged pigeons in the home. There was 2 feet of feces on the floor and no running water. The doors couldn't be opened because of all the feces on the floor. And one of the animal control officers actually fell through the floor because it had rotted from all the stuff on the floor and was injured, which is the last place you ever want to be injured, is on top of 2 feet worth of shit.
Yeah, exactly. How many? 250?
350.
350.
Flying.
Pigeons?
Yeah.
They must have been collected somehow.
Yeah, he or she, it really didn't say.
Okay.
As a collector. With all that stuff on the floor, you'd think you'd want to open a window, but you
they'd fly
can't
out.
because they're uncaged and they would
you can't.
I would hope they would leave unless they got like Stockholm syndrome where they feel like they have to provide some comfort for this clearly lonely person.
Yeah. I guess you couldn't shovel it all out of there because they'd all get out.
Yeah.
So that's probably was just really eating at the person. Like, how do I get rid of all this shit? Oh, I can't. What have I gotten myself into? I have 350. It must have taken more than one, iteration of getting all the pigeons to get in there. So you must have had to throw them in there without anything escaping. So you could probably shovel the shit out of there. I try to explain crazy. You can't explain crazy.
And this one's very hard to even wrap your mind around.
Yeah.
It's just hard to imagine 350 birds of any kind in any home.
How about 2 feet? I mean, you don't see...
Yeah,
they don't shit. I know that would be like, it's kind of semi-liquid too. It probably compacts pretty well, but that's crazy.
They ended up taking the owner out on a stretcher because apparently they not only were mentally ill, but physically too. Which
breathing all that.
And also, I guess they couldn't get to the refrigerator because all the stuff on the floor, and you couldn't open the door because none of the doors in the house were easy to open. I'm assuming they had to take a door off to even get in.
Yeah.
That's disturbing, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that. Where was this?
Long Island.
This started in a park, and just somebody wanted to take, like in New York area, someone just wanted to take one pigeon home, and then they needed a friend, and then it just exploded into a huge community of just shit dropping pigeons. And what did they eat? I guess pigeons probably eat anything.
I would like to think it was just some old man sitting by his window one day with the window open, reading a book, eating a sandwich. A bird flew in, started pecking at the bread, heard it making its noises and flying around the house, and thought, you know what? I need more of this in my life.
Yeah.
And That's how it all
and
began.
then the next thing you know, you're looking around saying, oh my God, I have pigeonholed myself up. Pigeonholed myself up. It's terrible.
That's a crazy
That is
story.
dumbass. That's not being a dumbass. That's just crazy. That's crazy. That took effort. That took effort.
And a lot of
If
it.
that person was sane, they could probably be making a huge contribution to society somehow. If you can get 350 pigeons into a house, you could probably cure cancer somehow, or at least help to cure cancer.
You got some drive behind you. That's a lot of will.
You got motivation. You do. You got that. Interesting. So, what happened to pigeons?
They
let them all go?
removed them all, and
Just
some
let
of
them
them
all
needed. I guess some of them were suffering from neurological disorders and things like that. It's got to be overcrowded. I'm not sure how big the house was, but regardless of the size, it could be 3 stories. That's a shitload of pigeons.
Just give that to the lady with the goldfish, the sick ones, and then she'd pay the medical bill probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do you got anything you want to plug before we go?
Not really. I mean, gonna try to get the book out as soon as I can, and it'll be on Amazon and Kindle. There will be other channels that it will be through too. Sometimes Barnes and Noble and stuff. That takes a few weeks later. But I'm thinking come mid-October, it's going to be up there on Amazon. I'll put a link on my Facebook page. Basically, if you just type the words "not making it" into Facebook, the page should come up. It's got a red cover. Red's the color of comedy, by the way.
It is a nice looking design. I like that book.
It was pretty simple, so I liked it to be kind of as simple as possible.
Out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
So, and I'll probably be trying to post what's going on with it as we progress. So if you did want to click like on the Facebook page, I will let you know what part of the process we're at. And I'll probably make a promotional video for it just to be a goofball.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to buy no Facebook ads. I ain't doing that. Yeah. People got enough of those bothering them. So this way it's voluntary. You want to, see what the book's about and, pay attention to the posts. You could follow along.
And if you want to catch Mike doing stand-up, you can see him this Saturday at Murray's Pub. Just rewind about half hour, 40 minutes, and you can get the address.
Yeah, it's on Dixie. I don't know. Moraine might not be my hotbed. That might not be. I'm not doing any science jokes. So I'm going to have to, do the more, probably the working class crowd stuff, which I have some of.
I want to let everybody know I won't be on the Life for the next couple of weeks, but I'll try to have something up in its place. And taking my place on the Life will be Mike Canetaro.
Yep. What time is it?
I think it's at 7.
Is it 6? 7?
No, it's at 6.
6? It was at 7. Was it?
Yeah, it used to be from 7 to 9, and then it was 6 to 8.
Okay, I will huff it over there. I'll be in work all day, but I will get there Wednesday and then the Wednesday after. So, always fun. I don't even know who the guests are. Don will figure that out.
Yeah.
I'm just filler.
And next Monday on the podcast, my guest will be Mama Kate. And next Thursday, I'll be talking with my friend Kenny Bolin. Should be a good time. If you haven't yet, please make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming shows. And I want to thank my guest for being here today. It was a lot of fun.
Thank
really
you for
appreciate
having me.
it.
Great time.
All right, guys. I want to thank everybody for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show and leave a review.
It got kind of weird there at the end there.